An act of valor unprecedented by anything I've seen before. My big sister Tara came out to my parents that she is a lesbian, revealing her most personal secret. This occurred on the night of her 20th birthday dinner, the very last celebratory day of 2016. As a New Year's Eve baby, Tara always had extravagant gatherings and birthday dinners, but this family dinner was like no other. Around the big table in a loud restaurant sat myself, Alexia, Tara's college roommate, Tara, our brothers Brendan and Shane, our cousin Jack, our oldest sister Brianna, and then our loving but old-minded parents. Everyone at the table knew the reveal was coming. Earlier in the day, Tara made the decision that she didn't want to hide this from her parents anymore, which she had been doing for years. So Tara strategically waited for my dad to finish his wine and said, "I have something to tell you guys," and the table became silent. There was an awkward giggle, and then she said it. Before I can finish this story, I will share some background information with you. Growing up, I was Tara's best friend and biggest confidant. We did everything together and told each other all of our secrets. Naturally, I was the first family member that she told her secret to. This was back when we were 16 and 17. This was also the age that I had my first long-term boyfriend, and it seemed that all of our best friends had boyfriends too. Tara was the only one that never brought a boy home. One day, my dad asked me, "Why doesn't Tara have a boyfriend? Does she intimidate the boys at school?" Of course I knew why, but I couldn't be the one to out her. I acted as an unwilling middleman of information between my parents and Tara for much of that year. My dad was always concerned about Tara's love life because he didn't want her to be lonely. My mom asked sometimes, but she settled on the answer that Tara was too busy with sports, schoolwork, and friends. Meanwhile, every other person in her life was finding out the truth one by one. But don't take it from me, take it from Tara. Let's rewind and start from the beginning. So Tara, when did you first realize that you liked girls?
Honestly, for as long as I can remember, I think, looking back, it's something I always knew, but accepting and realizing that fact is a whole other story. I I really believe at a young age that every child believes that love is love. It's they just don't think society hasn't had its impact on anyone yet, so you don't look at what's right or wrong or what's accepted or what's normal. I remember specifically I was so young when I was 11 years old and I was up in Maine. It's where I always spend my summers, and I was with all my friends, and I don't even know. I think I repeated it out of a movie or something. I don't even know where I heard this, but I was just with a group of my friends. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I said something like, "Every girl's a little bi," and I said it like bisexual, and I said it so confidently, and I just thought it was so normal. I don't know. I just truly believed, and I said that. And when I said that, everyone looked at me like I was so weird. They were like, "No, what the heck? Why would you say that?" And that's like the first time I realized that saying something like that or thinking what I thought or anything was not normal, and every hair on my arm stood up, and I've never felt more embarrassed. And I tried to take it back, and I was like, "Oh no, I didn't mean that." And they were like, "No, you meant it." And you're 11, so I was 11 years old. I was a child, so everyone like laughed and like made fun of me for it, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that." And I think that was the first moment that I realized that this was something that wasn't normal, and I was like, "Holy crap, don't ever say that again, don't ever repeat it, don't ever speak anything like that out loud ever again." The beginning of my realization really didn't start until I was about 14, so like 8th grade and middle school. God, middle school was already awkward as it is, literally cringeworthy, and then on top of that, I started to have these like thoughts about girls, and they would just come so randomly. I don't know, I would just be sitting in class or something, and it was one of those things where I'd doze off, because I did that a lot, and I don't know, I would just be like sitting there, and at first it was kind of like, I liked it. I don't know, I would be dozing off and I'd be thinking about something, and and it was kind of like a fantasy, and then and then I would come back to reality, like back to where I was, and when I realized what was happening, I'd be like, oh my god, and every muscle in my body would tense up, and I was like, oh, stop, what are you thinking, stop, this is so weird, don't be weird, why are you thinking this, you need to stop it right now. And it was one of those things where it wasn't real. I could bury it back in my head. It wasn't real because I never said it. I really tried to bury it deep, deep, deep back in my head and convince myself that all the thoughts were having, they weren't real. They were an accident. I take them back. They weren't real. I completely convinced myself that. Take it back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Mind you, I'm literally having this argument with myself, to myself in my head, because that's the only other person that knew what I was thinking. And for a while, that worked. It was like it worked for a while, for like 2 years. And then, I was going into my sophomore year of high school, and I was on with my friend's family on her vacation and whatever, and one of the boys snuck alcohol out into the boat. It was late at night and we were drinking, and he was like, oh, you two should kiss, like me and this other girl that I was with. And I had been drinking, and it was the first time I ever tried alcohol. I was 15, and he was like, oh, you two should kiss. And like in my head, at that age, or whenever growing up, you hear like, oh, girls always kiss when they're drunk, like they can kiss, like it's hot when girls kiss when they're drunk. So I was just like, that was what was going through my mind, and I was like, and I was drunk, and I was like, okay, and I kissed her, and that was the first girl I ever kissed, and I was like, holy crap, like, oh, like I don't know what was happening with my stomach, and I liked it way more than I should have, and I'd kissed so many boys, and I was just like, oh, whatever, like, boys, it was just, like, it was easy, like, whatever, but, like, this was, like, crap, and it was like, oh my god, and everything for the past 2 years that I try to convince myself that everything that I was thinking and feeling, it wasn't real, this was the first time I ever acted on it, and I was like, I was, like, completely confused, my mind was racing, and, like, ever since then, like, I paired alcohol with, like, it being okay to kiss girls, because it's totally hot when girls kiss when they're drunk, but not when they're sober, like, that's weird, so after the first time I kissed a girl, after that, it was the first time I ever acted on it. And so from that point on, I couldn't convince myself that I didn't like girls, but I also couldn't accept myself either. And so sophomore and junior year of high school really, really freaking sucked. Those 2 years, oh my god, sucked the most. I hated myself. I hated myself so much. I hated myself. I was disgusted, disappointed. I was angry. I was so mad. I was like, why do I have to be difficult? Why can't I just be like everyone else? Why can't I just get a boyfriend? Why can't I just like guys? Why do I have to be difficult? And all of these, just the worst thoughts. I hated myself so much, and the worst part of it all was that I couldn't show how much I was struggling. I couldn't show it at all, because if I showed how upset I was, or angry, or just completely upset I was, I didn't have a reason why. Like, I couldn't explain to anyone why I was upset, because I definitely was not gonna say anything. I was literally dying inside, and I couldn't tell anyone because I didn't want to tell anyone, because maybe I'll just like a boy one day, or like, I don't know, I'll just move on from this stupid freaking phase that I can't seem to get over. But I just really didn't want to tell anyone. And just every day I had to wake up with a smile on my face and go to school. I mean, don't get me wrong, like in high school I was so happy. I mean, I was like a happy person, but some days just really sucked, and I tried to distract myself with everything I was involved in. I was a 3-sport varsity athlete. I was on student council, National Honor Society. I was involved in so much. I wanted to keep myself so busy because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts, because when I was alone and I actually had time to rest and think about like my life or everything that I was doing, it would just all go back to that, and I was just so hard on myself. But I convinced myself that I would never hate myself as much as society and my friends and my family would hate me and be disgusted and disappointed in me for being who I was and the way I felt. I truly believed, I said to myself, you better not freaking tell anyone, because what I thought, like what you think right now is not even close to what you're gonna get if you say it out loud, if you make your thoughts known, if you let people know how you feel, if you let people know that you're different, if you let them know that you're weird because you like girls. It's going to be 1,000 times worse. There's no way you're gonna hate yourself more than everyone else is gonna hate you, so you better just keep it in. And I did that for 2 years, and oh my god, it is a weight, and it just builds and builds, and until you literally break, because like that's what happened to me.
How long did you wait to tell people, and how did they react?
I really didn't want to tell anyone. Looking back, I was like, I wasn't planning on telling anyone. I didn't want to tell my family. I didn't want to tell my friends. In my mind, it was in a clock. I would just keep telling myself, wait till college, but keep it in, like, when you go to college, you can do whatever you want. No one will know what you're doing. Just wait till then. I kept telling myself that when my mind would run on a loop over and over again. You just need to wait. Now's not the time. I live in a small town. I don't want to cause any drama. Everyone talks. Everyone would know about it. It would just cause drama for my family and friends, and I just didn't want to cause a problem for anyone, because where I lived, people didn't live like that. And but the longer I waited, the longer I kept telling myself that. I started telling myself that to wait. It was probably like sophomore year, like, hold it in, don't tell anyone, keep it in as long as you can. And the longer I kept thinking that, and the longer I kept saying it, I felt like I was just staring at a clock, and like the longer I stared, the slower time moved by, and I couldn't wait any longer. I just needed to tell someone, but I really needed to be strategic about it.
What do you mean by that?
I mean strategic, and I really thought, like, I really prepared, like, in my mind, whoever I told, they wouldn't look at me the same. They, like, worst case scenario, they want to be my friend, which is fine. I thought about that so many times, but I still needed to tell someone these thoughts in my mind. I just needed someone to hear it. I needed a reaction. I didn't know how anyone reacts, so I just needed to tell someone, but I didn't want to tell my best friends. So I wanted to tell someone that, like, I was friends with, but I wasn't best friends with, so if they had a bad reaction and they didn't want to be my friend anymore, or if it was negative, I'd be able to handle it. I could move on and say, okay, and prepare myself for the people that I'm very close with. If they had the same reaction, I could take the hate one by one, which is like super upsetting to like think about. But the first person I ever told was a girl named Michaela, and we had just
been starting to become really good friends, and I was thinking, we were very good friends, and now we're best friends. Like, we're still very close. And I was thinking, if I tell her, I just need to tell someone. So one day we were, like, driving from our house. We were going to meet up with some friends to, like, go to a rope swing, and we were in our car, and I remember I was so nervous, literally, like, shaking. And I just looked at her and said, I need to tell you something. And she just looks at me and says, what? What do you need to tell me? And I'm looking down, I'm playing with my hands, I'm so nervous. And I just said, I like girls, like, very nervously. And she just says, okay. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what? I didn't know, like, my mind was racing. I was like, what do you mean, okay? Like, what do you mean by that? Okay has so many meanings. And she just says, it's fine, nothing's changed. Like, you're still the same person, I still love you. And I was completely taken back because after she said that, I said, if you don't want to be friends with me anymore, I understand if that's not what you want. And she was like, oh my God, no, are you crazy? You're still the same person. I love you no matter what. And it was such it was just a huge, like, wave of relief, because every single person I told, after each person I told, I said, if you don't want to be friends with me anymore, that's fine. I literally mentally prepared for every single person that I was close to would drop me as a friend. And that day, after I told her, I ended up telling 3 more friends, and every single person's reaction was the same, saying, are you crazy, Tara? We love you no matter what. You're still the same person. And I just felt so much love, and that's when I just started telling more and more people because of how much of a good reaction I got.
That's really great that you got so much support.
Yeah, Hannah, do you remember when I came out to you?
Weren't we in Maine?
Do you remember where?
In the car, right?
Yeah, I came out to so many people. I feel like every time I came out to someone, I was in a car. I thought that's, like, the perfect place if you think about it. Like, if you're in a car, like, you can't leave the car. Like, you're, like, stuck in the car, so you have to listen to what I'm saying. But literally, I remember just telling you, and you were just like, oh my God, it all makes sense now. And I was just like, what? And you're just, every single time you were talking to a girl, you were flirting with her. Oh my God. And I was like, I guess. I don't really think I was. And then you just go off, like, listing all these people, like, in our high school, being like, oh, do you think she's pretty? Is she hot? Like,
oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
I remember that was so funny.
Okay, so tell me about the first girl you dated.
Well, the first girl I ever dated, I guess I wouldn't say date. Well, we dated, but it wasn't, like, official. Whatever that means. But it was freshman year of college, and her name was Julie, and I met her in my public health class. She was the first girl I ever consistently saw, and we'd hang out all the time. I went to her sorority formal, and I knew I really liked her, and I knew she liked me. I knew she had come out to her parents, so her parents knew she was bisexual. So her parents knew, and everyone knew. But for me, all my friends knew, everyone in my family knew except my parents, and I knew she wanted to date me, and I wanted to date her too, but I hadn't come out to my parents yet, and it was so stressful because I wanted to date her, but it was that was just the one thing holding me back, and I hate that because I wanted to tell my parents, but I didn't want them to blame her for, like, me being gay. I just felt like they would do that. They were like, oh, it's this girl. Like, I don't know. I thought of every situation, and I just didn't want her to feel any pressure from that. And I didn't, like, I just knew they would do that. They'd be like, it's because of the girl. Like, that's why. And I wanted to come out, but I didn't want to come out with someone. And I felt so much pressure, and, like, pressure from her, like, wanting to, like, be together, and pressure from like my thoughts about coming out, and I just completely disengaged, and and it was the end of the school year, and I just had to stop seeing her because it was like so much pressure, like just so much stress going on that I really just like couldn't handle it, and I wasn't ready to come out.
So when did you know that you needed to come out to mom and dad?
After I brought my first boyfriend home. Wow, shocker, right? I know, same. But yeah, so before I came out to my parents, and this whole time when I came out to everyone, when I was like 16, I first told everyone I liked girls. Up until the point that I came out to my parents, I identified as bisexual, because I didn't want to admit to myself that I was just girls, and I had never dated a guy, so I kept telling myself, I just haven't met the right guy, because when I meet the right guy, I'll like him. And so I just didn't want to shut out a whole gender of people. That's crazy to shut out a whole gender. I needed to be 110% sure. Every time I've always made a decision. I don't make decisions easy, so when I make a decision, I have to be very, very sure. And about my sexuality, that's who I am. So I wanted to be very certain. So yeah, first semester sophomore year, I dated a guy for 23 days. And his name was David, and he was a really good kid. There was nothing wrong. Like, I dated him because I really wanted to give myself a shot. And if this guy met every checklist in my mind that I've been keeping since I was 16, I've been so critical over guys, and I keep a checklist, and he hit every check on my list. He was tall, he was handsome, he was athletic, he was intelligent, very smart, he came from a good family. Everything that I wanted in a guy he had, and I still literally felt nothing. And it's something you can't force, but I had never dated anyone, so I thought, okay, maybe it hasn't hit me yet. I'm not feeling. Maybe it takes a couple weeks. It's just he would text me. I wouldn't text him all day. I wouldn't care. We wouldn't talk for a while. It just didn't faze me if he couldn't hang out, whatever. I never felt anything. And it's so funny because all of my friends were shocked. I was dating a guy. They kept telling me, Tara, you're a lesbian, you don't like guys. And I'm like, guys, shut up. I'm bisexual. I can like guys too. Every single person that was a close friend of me literally looked at me like I was crazy and saying, what are you doing? And I was like, guys, I can date a guy too. I never said I was gay. I'm bisexual. I can date a guy. And they were just like, okay, Tara, but they didn't believe it. They knew me better. It's so funny. They knew me better than I knew myself. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. And I really tried, and my roommate could tell, she could tell. She was like, I know you want to like him. I can see you trying, but I know you don't. And I was like, shit, you might be right. And so I brought him home for Christmas. I was kind of excited because I knew my parents would really like him. And because he was the perfect idea of what I had for a guy. And my dad, first thing he says is, wow, you must be special. She's the first guy that she's ever brought home. I'm like, Dad, shut up. Oh my God. It was so embarrassing. And obviously my parents really liked him. He mixed well. He was talking to my dad about his fraternity because my dad was in a fraternity in college, and I was like, oh good, they're bonding. And I thought I would feel so happy. I was like, yes, my parents love him, this is so good. And I literally felt miserable, the complete opposite of what I thought I was going to feel. And I was just, the whole time I saw them laughing and smiling and being happy, it literally crushed me more and more, because I was thinking, I'm lying to myself, I'm lying to my family. I just felt what I was doing with this guy, everything was a lie. I wasn't being true to myself, and I felt so sad when I really thought I was gonna feel happy, and that was the key moment that I need to do something this. doesn't feel the way it should feel, and I'm forcing it too much, and you shouldn't have to force the way you feel. I can't help the way I feel, so I had to end it.
Tell me about what you were feeling when you finally told our parents.
Okay. Well, when I don't know. Looking back that day, the day of my 20th birthday, go big or go home, right? I was so nervous. This was the day. This is where everything changes, is going in my mind. I had spent years conjuring up every single reaction that they could have had. And I thought of any possible way they could have reacted, and I just needed to know. I could think of everything, but I needed to know how they would actually react. And so I, like Hannah said, I did it on the night of my 20th birthday, at my birthday dinner. And I had my roommate there. The week beforehand, I spent 3 days at her house because I was a wreck. I was like, I need to tell them, and I go, and I need you there. And she's like, you need me there? And I was like, yes, I want you there. She was with me the whole time, and Hannah's been with me the whole experience, but I wanted her there, and she was like, okay, I'm obviously gonna be there for you. So she's sitting at the table, we're all sitting at the table, and I wanted to wait for my dad to finish his whole bottle of wine, but he was drinking it so slow. Oh my God, he was drinking it so slow. And every sip, I'm like, I needed him to have a little bit so he could handle it. And it's near the end of the dinner, and I'm like, okay, I just need to say it. I changed my mind literally 1,000 times. I was like, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say it. I need to say it. I really thought if I didn't do it right then in that moment, then I wasn't going to say anything. And I strategically planned when I was going to come out, because I picked in a loud restaurant, so we're in a public place, they can't react badly. I'm with my family, I'm with my roommate, they can't react badly, and it's my birthday, so you can't ruin someone's birthday, right? That was my whole thought process. And I just look over, and I was just like, I have something to say. And my dad was still talking, and I'm like, Dad, I have something to say. And I literally was shaking. It was just the longest awkward silence, and I'm looking at everyone because everyone at the table knows except them. And I'm looking at my sister, and I'm looking at my roommate, and they all are just like, it's okay, say it. And I just go, I'm gay. And my dad goes, what? Because he didn't hear me. And I was just like, I'm a lesbian. And everything's silent, and I was like, oh my God, I actually just said it. And they kind of just they had the same reaction everyone else had. They were just like, okay. And I was like, okay, what? And then my dad usually comes in with his side comments. He was like, yeah, it's fine, we still love you, but just don't be weird about it. And I'm like, okay, don't be weird about it, whatever. That moment, that was the moment, 1,000 pounds lifted off my shoulder. I finally said it, and that's when the tears started coming, and I'm looking down. I didn't want to cry, but then the tears just start coming, and it was literally out of a movie, because then the waitresses and everyone came in and started singing happy birthday, and I'm crying into my birthday cake. It was a lot, but it was the best day, and I'm so glad that I finally came out. So that's the end of my story, but I just wanted to say to anyone who's listening to this, whether you're a friend, you're an acquaintance, you're a stranger, you're straight, you're gay, you're confused about your sexuality, or know someone that's struggling, you just need to be supportive and show acceptance. Nothing about coming out is easy. It's really terrifying. It's called coming out of the closet because that's what you feel like when you're in it. You feel like you're in this dark place and you're alone with your thoughts, and the idea of coming out is so scary because the unknown is so scary. And I wanted to say, even though I was struggling, I wanted to stay in the closet because I didn't want to put my struggles on anyone else, especially those close to me. I'd rather sacrifice my happiness for the comfort of everyone else's thoughts, because I didn't want to cause a problem, because I thought me being who I was a problem. And honestly, that's a problem. Me not accepting myself. Anyone who is going through what I went through or has gone through, you shouldn't have to think that way. No one should be ashamed for being who they are. And I know coming out is so scary, but I've never been happier in my entire life. I wish I could go back and just tell my 15-year-old self and just say, listen, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be better, because I never thought that I would ever be where I am today. I always thought of the day that this would happen, and I dreamed about it, and I never really thought about it. I literally dreamt, I wanted to be straight so bad. I was like, I'll just marry a nice guy and have kids, and thinking about being with a guy and marrying and being a conventional family, I'm just not a conventional person, and that literally made me want to throw up. It just wasn't who I am. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone in my life that's been so helpful and loving and supportive to me while I endured my long journey and tough journey to find self-acceptance and self-worth. It wasn't easy, and everyone has just been so loving the whole way, and you're all beautiful people, and thank you so much.
While Tara admits that she had a particularly good experience with the coming out process, she still has faced many difficulties with self-acceptance, stereotypes, and discrimination. One thing that people need to understand is that love is love, and it doesn't change who you are as a person. I'm proud of my sister for who she is and the comfort that she has found within herself. She will continue to be unapologetically herself, and I urge everyone to follow in her footsteps.